Seems fair to me.
Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Donnybrook. Wow, the last one for January. 1 month. We won't miss too much. I think that's for sure. Thanks a lot to our friends at the Gatesworth who are warm and toasty, and we thank you for joining us and for supporting this program week in and week out. Let's meet the media veteran herself, who does like it cold, she tells us. With KTRS Radio, she is Wendy Wiese. And sitting in for Bill McClellan, who's taking the week off, Joe Holleman from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Ray Hartmann, who 32 years ago was one of the founders of Donnybrook. Great to have you around the big green table, along with Alvin Reid from the St. Louis American and STLmag.com. And Joe, we're going to have the tip-off for you, as there was a pretty heated press conference today by Chief John Hayden of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. And he was reacting, of course, to the so-called Russian roulette incident that took the life of one St. Louis police officer last week, Caitlin Alex. Well, Hayden really went after the circuit attorney like I've never seen a police chief do, say that he was completely offended by her comments that the police had obstructed some of the evidence gathering in this particular case. Do you think that the circuit attorney, who said that the police were kind of obstructing things and were out of line, do you think the circuit attorney herself was out of line?
Yes. To this extent. First of all, I have as much idea as anybody else as to what actually happened.
Right, right.
And I also believe that Kim Gardner is well within her job duties to question the police procedure. I think the fact that it came through a letter that happened to be leaked to the press was simply setting up an unnecessarily antagonistic relationship between a police department and a circuit attorney's office, which, whether they want to or not, are going to have to work together to make the city safe. So I can't imagine that Kim Gardner couldn't have got John Hayden on a phone and said, John, what's going on here? What's the deal? And maybe it would have been cleared up, maybe it would have been not. I thought immediately to, here's a letter criticizing it only days after it happened. I thought was premature and was out of line.
I think both of them are playing to their audience. I think for John Hayden, for Chief Hayden, I think Kim Gardner is low-hanging fruit. I mean, she's right there. If things are already tense at the police department, as we presume they are, then yeah, he's going to go after Kim Gardner. She is going to go after him. They need to have some kind of mediation between them, and I'm not joking.
I don't think they do.
Oh,
Actually,
I think they should.
I don't think they do because I like the tension. It takes me back to us back to the old days of George Peach and some of those. First of all,
Was he against the police chief? I don't recall that.
There were some times. Oh yeah,
against the police chief?
Not against, but
The
there was a lot of
police.
tension. Yeah, and there was just a lot of color, I think, is my point. And I don't think it hurts anything. I think, first of all, Kim Gardner is speaking for a lot of people who have not been spoken for before, and I will say this on her behalf, and everybody's been impressed with Chief Hayden so far, but if that isn't a police officer, that's involved, there isn't any problem getting blood work, like that. But all of a sudden, it's a police officer. For her to throw out the word obstruction, I don't think it's out of line.
I kind of want to go back just a second here. Everybody's been impressed with Chief Hayden. I don't know everybody is. Now, he's in charge of the unit out there where the chief at that time is saying we own the streets and where a police officer's getting beat by 4 fellow police officers. I mean, for him to jump out here and say, like, she's all wrong and I'm offended, dude, you need to look around inside that building you work in. And this goes all the way, this nonstop, Moqua, towing scandal, this, that. Now we're up to the modern day age.
No, hang on. Point of order. Now, I think that Hayden was not the police chief during the
No, he
Jason
wasn't the chief.
Right.
He was the officer in charge, not the chief.
He was on site.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. He came out today, but he didn't specifically, Joe, and I listened to this twice. You can get these Twitter feeds now, and you can see the whole press conference. He did not really deny the obstruction. He just said he was offended. He said that his officers had a lot of experience and they followed the letter of the law. So, but he also did say that he would be hampered by what he could say because an investigation is going on.
And that's why I think it was opportunistic on Ms. Gardner's part. If he comes out, first of all, when you talked about when you said I saw on Twitter, you have now to where you have to be out immediately with some information. Yeah. So it comes down, and one of Gardner's complaints was, well, you used it was an accident or mishandling. And Hayden said, that was what I was originally given as information. Now, as anybody knows who's ever tried to find the whole truth, quote unquote, it doesn't come out in one big clump. It comes out in little bitty pieces.
Dribbles, yeah.
But the media wants an update every day, every hour, every quarter hour, every minute. And it forces them to make statements sometimes that they're going to say, oh, we have some new information.
But I love what Charlie said, because it sort of sounds like he's saying, your facts offend me, you know? I mean, it's sort of like...
That is how it sounded.
And maybe it is what he meant, but as I say, I think she is, I think she's she is playing her role. I haven't said that on everything. I think she's playing a role.
Between the police department and you know, from what we understand over the years, their attitude toward members of the media has changed. I mean, so obviously they're a little more protective than they used to be of doors and walls and barriers and that kind of thing. But there is no law that says you have to come up with something before you're ready to come up with something. And I think that's something that is a lesson that some of these leaders everywhere would be well advised.
And everybody
okay. All right.
Yeah.
And technically, I saw it on Periscope through Twitter, not through Twitter. Hey, Alvin, though, I want to ask you, because, and the chief addressed this a little bit, as has the mayor. The mayor has defended the police department. But now we have 2 officers who have just been charged this week with assault in a bar fight of sorts. Then we have 4 officers who are either accused of beating up a fellow police officer and or covering it up. We have 4 officers who are alleged to have taken payments from a chiropractor in exchange for private information. And then we have this perverted Russian roulette death of 1 police officer. Some are saying that the police department in the city is in a crisis at the very time that it's supposed to be kind of taking over the other small departments in the county.
Well, you ran through the litany, which I was just going to do. I was going to say, like, listen, we're not asking, hey, it seems to me that you're writing too many tickets in the city of St. Louis, or it seems to me that people aren't, like, working overtime, you know, and maybe not being the work. This is bizarro stuff. This is bullets flying. This is people are dead. This is just out of control. And the chief, the first thing he needs to say is, I have got to get this police department under control. It is out of control right now. Nothing that comes out. Right. I'm not impugning every police officer or ever. But what I'm saying is, if you're in charge, I'm in charge, and all this has happened since I became in charge, that's what I'd be worried about.
But it is just 8 officers out of 1,200.
8 officers. Come on, Charlie, this is St. Louis, Missouri, and I don't care how many police officers there are. And count a 9th, because the guy who got beat silly, I'm sure he's not coming to work with the most joyous of attitudes after that. And you threw the part in about the future we'll talk about, but yeah, you're going to infest this on the county? Come on, let's get straight.
Well, I think that issue's, I mean, this doesn't speak that well for the idea that bigger is better. I think the 2 are not mutually exclusive. In other words, one can argue that there's too many police departments in St. Louis County and that the standards aren't high enough.
That ain't got nothing to do with this craziness.
I get that. I'm saying it doesn't. And the craziness, this is a tough job they have. And I agree with you about your perspective, but it's a very complicated deal. I think one of the real mistakes was made when we went to local control was not having a police board, because I think, and it's not a shot at the mayor, but I mean, it's structurally, we don't really hear that much from the civilian review board that's there, and I don't know. That's where these issues are. There ought to be a police board in any case, and there ought to be an active civilian, review board that is engaged in these things.
We had a police board. It was appointed by the governor.
I know we did.
We got rid of it.
And it didn't make sense. And as somebody that was for local control, because I would argue that was politicized just down in Jeff City, it made those of us that supported it kind of have egg on our face for not noticing that there would not be a police board here.
Well, and how long has Chief Hayden been chief? I mean, it's not.
About a year?
You know, I think from one era to another, there's going to be something of a vacuum, and I think it takes a while for the dust to settle. And he's trying to make his mark. He's dealing with a lot. He's dealing with a lot on a lot of fronts. And so sometimes
a lot of us
I
said
think
this is why you need to hire a police chief from someplace else. But I'm just saying that, Ray, a young lady is dead. We got a police officer who has been allegedly beaten into the fact that he can't even work anymore. All right, with everything else going on, those two things alone, I think I would step back and say, like, what's going on in my police department? I think that's a fair question, and he needs to ask that before he questions Kim
And
Gardner.
we can't be certain he's not asking those
And
questions.
Right.
He's just not
We don't know
doing
what
it
you
on
don't
the
know.
show.
we're not in the interrogation
Hey,
room.
Joe, consolidating the police department in the city with all of the county municipal police departments, as well as the St. Louis County Police Department, is one of the plans of Better Together, which was officially released this Monday at 10 o'clock. Among other things, and we've kind of gone over this before, there would be one big metro mayor, one prosecutor, one assessor. The zoning work would be taken away from the municipalities and kind of given to the big metro. The small municipalities, actually the large municipalities too, would have control over parks and trash. And what I think is most interesting is that the earnings tax in the city of St. Louis that's levied on the workers and the residents of the city will go away over 10 years. But the sales tax that the cities and the counties enjoy will be pooled all of a sudden among the 1.3 million residents of the new city. So overall, what do you think about this Better Together plan?
I am cautiously in favor. And when I say that, then people start pointing out the problems in it. And there are some, a few, many, however you want to describe it. But I think several things to me are key. I remember covering City Hall in the late 80s with Van Schamel as mayor. People talking about what a terrible hamstrung position we're in because the city and county are separate and something needs to be done. Something needs to be consolidated in the county. They tried a misfiring board of freeholders plan. But nobody was saying, no, everything's great with the city and county separate. If you believe that it would be better if that divorce were mended, we got remarried, if you will. If you believe that's a better way, then at least look at this plan before you out of hand dismiss it as saying, here's something I don't like. It's a big plan. Of course there's going to be something they don't like. I like that it cuts down the duplication of what amounts to a lot of patronage offices in smaller cities to get paperwork done. It saves money on the governance side of it. It consolidates police departments. For 30 years, I've been saying that there should have been two departments, county and city, and get rid of some of these small municipal departments in the county. I've been saying that forever. I think it's also a smart plan in that it leaves park districts out of it. You can still take care of your parks. You can still take care of your trash pickup. It also does not immediately say we need one fire department, because by and large, you don't hear the level of complaints about fire protection that you do about police protection. And so I think they didn't go in and just say, let's change everything. I don't like the fact that the whole state gets to decide on this. And there are things I don't like, but I'm going to look at this plan and say, if you believe that it's better for the county and the city to be together.
That is a very measured response, I think. You are a reporter and you are acting as a reporter. What I think we have to be very careful of is when members of the media, they appear to be point men on this. And that is unfortunate. You have to still, I mean, you know, this is pretty basic. You have to still be objective. You can't be perceived as a, hey, well, look, you know, you can't be a cheerleader. You've got to be objective.
See, I think reasonable people will disagree about the outcome. And I've been
Absolutely.
for city county, I've been for city county merger forever. But this keeps getting more undemocratic. In other words,
That's right.
So for example, one way to do this, if it's such a great idea, is the people at which I have trouble getting past the process of the state dictating 4.8 million people who don't live in the city county, dictating to 1.3 their governance forever. But assuming that, for sake of discussion, you like that, why not have an election the next November? In other words, why do we need this undemocratic process, the city, cutting deals with the mayor and the county executive, who's going to run the new city? If it's such a great idea and the people put it in November of 2020, then by November 2021, let everybody run and see where it shakes out. In other words, they just keep being more undemocratic.
And you mentioned the county executive, and I always wondered, like, what is in it for him that he's so far, behind this plan? And now I found out that he gets to be the man.
He's the king.
Yeah, he gets to be king for maybe a limited period of time. You said a marriage, this shotgun wedding, and the county's the 16-year-old bride. I mean, no, you can't put up with this.
I think that's a completely erroneous comparison. Completely. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that we are being told what to do and when to do it, and for all the wrong reasons. And all these savings and all this is going to go on. It will create problems that we do not need. Okay, and we've talked about the police department. That's at the top of the list. But let's go back to the sales tax. That means if you buy something in Kirkwood, the money goes to picking up trash in the city of St. Louis. God bless the city of St. Louis, but that's not what I'm paying my taxes for. And to tell me I have to do that, to me, is unconstitutional.
And you obviously echo.
Oh, yeah, and tomorrow Alvin is getting the big award from the DePere-Kirkwood Chamber of Commerce, the Community Advocate Award.
Advocate.
Right? Yeah,
and I will try not to go into it.
I don't forgot about that.
I don't think it's the Mega City Advocate
And
Award.
Chesterfield is talking about seceding. I have an idea. You stretch it from Watson Road to 270 to 44, back over to the city limits. We're going to call that Alvin County. Everybody within there, Alvin County.
All right. Hey, but quickly, and we learned this week that the Better Together effort is going to be led by Mark Wrighton, the soon-to-be departing Chancellor of Washington University. What do you think about that, as Dr. Wrighton being the champion of the Better Together effort, Wendy?
And let me preface this by saying I am not even worthy of standing in his shadow intellectually, but I really believe that we need someone who isn't from academia leading this and bringing this into the end zone. I think that there is such a perception out there that this is the elite versus the ordinary citizen, and this doesn't help, in my opinion.
I think he's fine as a choice, but it is undemocratic. It doesn't. There's no perception that this is the elite. This is the elites. I mean, this isn't.
Well, he's a member of Civic Progress.
No, I'm saying that my point is, whether you're talking at Civic Progress, I'm sure Civic Progress is on board. This is not a question of perception.
But that's what but we need a Chuck Knight or a Gussie
If you're going
Bush,
to do this, I think he's as good a choice
well,
as
there's
anybody.
nothing wrong with nobility, but in this fellow's case, he does have a police department, and I wonder if WashU is going to give up its police department in the big consolidation, or maybe start paying some property taxes.
This isn't about who's going to lead us where. This is about we need somebody who we can tell exactly what to do, and they won't give us any lip. That's what Mark Wrighton's role is going to be, to do exactly what they tell him to do.
Well, no, I think happened here. I think
we're reading a lot of things into it. We have absolutely no idea.
I don't know.
Why would you say that about someone?
They're about to try to tell the largest county in Missouri exactly what to do.
No,
you don't think they'll tell Mark Wrighton what to do?
No, I don't. I think I actually think he's got the my point is this. I have the stated reasons I keep coming back to about the undemocratic nature of this, but within the context of doing it, I think he has the gravitas to be a fine choice.
Well, I will say,
gravitas is what I'm saying.
Well, but you talk about Gussie Bush, Chuck Knight. We don't have Gussie Bushes and Chuck Knight anymore.
We've got to have somebody.
One of the reasons.
We got Rex Singfield.
One of the reasons.
Well, and by the way, this whole thing is Rex
One of the
Singfield.
reasons we need Better Together is because that leadership that carried us through the times when the separation was a bad idea, but we had world headquarters here. So it wasn't an immediate concern. It's now an immediate concern.
Charlie, it's funny
and I
you
think Mark
mention
Wrighton is a very
Let me
good
just say, can I
we
say
do
one
want to
thing?
move on.
Can I understand
One thing.
Real quickly, Ray, if that's
If Rex
possible.
Singfield had any guts, he'd be the person doing it, because this is all about Rex.
Okay, well,
And
maybe that's next week's
that's my
discussion.
opinion.
Maybe, okay. I want to talk about your alma mater, the football stadium at the University of Missouri down the street from the Ray Hartmann Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math
Right.
building. Okay, so actually bad news today for Tiger fans, because the football program, the softball program, the baseball program will not be allowed to enter tournament play next year for 1 year because a tutor was doing the academic work of 12 athletes. Is that a just punishment, Ray?
Now, anything no, because the NCAA is about money, and and the idea is that anything the NCAA does is so arbitrary and tainted and. Yes, just about, because in the entire world of intercollegiate athletics is so bizarre. One of the interesting things I thought, we have this Kelly Bryant, who's going to an NFL top pick in waiting, who's going to do a one-year appearance for us.
Right.
And one of the questions is Kelly Bryant gonna transfer? And I think it's one of the great ironies of this, that the reason he would be happy with this is in the new age of how this works, the star quarterbacks don't want to play
That's
bowl
a great
games.
point.
They don't want to play in bowl
That is a
games,
great
and so
point.
his best case is to go 13-0 and be the top
you
pick
talk about
overall.
that. People
That's a
talk
great
about me being
point.
a cynic. That's also saying like, hey, people don't care about where they go college or the tainted image or anything like that. I just want to be pro, and I don't matter that the school's on probation. Look, I agree with you on the NCAA, but you had a tutor down there doing the work for players, got busted. She sang, and they were trying to fire her, and she dropped dime, and the NCAA got the whole story, and they said like, you guys. What? Softball, baseball, you can't go to the postseason, and football, you can't go to a bowl game. I might want to just say like, okay, let's just move on.
If that's Nick Saban's tutor or Urban Meyer's tutor,
that's a different
they get a
argument.
different deal.
Something
Urban
very
Meyer
different.
got
Sure.
he did all kinds. He gets a little slap
I'm
on the
not
wrist.
disagreeing with you at all. I'm just saying
it's so
that.
arbitrary.
But
is my
something
point.
did happen.
You
They-
can't have a tutor doing the work of the athlete.
No, that's what I'm saying. They really did get a little bit out of line,
Yeah.
and they got punished.
My
for it.
idea a few years ago was that, and it was one of the very few things that came out of the Mizzou protest that I agreed with, is all the college players should stop participating in sports, go on strike, unionize, tell the NCAA to take a hike, because the next time the NCAA does anything for the purity of the sport, it will be the first time they have done something
exactly
for the
right.
purity of the sport. And
Yeah.
I am with Ray 100%. As soon as I hear the NCAA said, I quit listening.
I did too.
What an
Let me tell you,
unfortunate
They're
organization.
NFL
Who's
junior.
being cynical
I'm sorry.
now?
They're NFL
Okay.
junior.
Hey, I'm going to take a topic out of order because Wendy Wiese, you brought up a pretty good column this week that I think Randy Carricker wrote in response to Bob Costas regarding.
My husband made it assigned reading this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the position, the exact position St. Louisans didn't want to be in. 3 years after the Rams left town with Stan Kroenke, the coldest guy, outside of Chicago, right? He is going to the Super Bowl. And Randy Carricker wrote a piece to Bob Costas that, it's legitimate not to be over the pain. Would you please summarize this and give us your opinion on this?
Well, Bob Costas said, get over it. And I understand that that's the grown-up guy, pull your pants up, get on with life, and you take your medicine, it's over. But Randy Carricker, sort of outlined all of the things about the move that were incredible. I mean, borderline criminal. They remade the rules for relocation while they were in the middle of relocating. So that was why I think the college.
And if I thought there was anything that Randy Carricker or anybody could do to change that, I'd say go right ahead. But what's the old thing about accept the things you cannot change? They're in L.A. So in the sense, I understand Costas's get over it position.
And how do you think the Los Angelinos felt when we went to the Super Bowl in, 99 or 2000?
Thank you very
But
much.
they didn't. But that's the point that Randy made, that they didn't even try to keep them out
We
there.
didn't try to keep the team till it was
Yes,
too
we
late.
did.
Till it was way too late.
Yes, we did.
All
They
right.
had
Well, anyway.
absolutely no
Yeah.
interest in
Because
LA.
Randy,
Now it's
all right,
taken
that
two
night,
teams.
that-
They were moving Oakland to Las Vegas.
That,
I mean,
the night they had the public display at the Peabody theater there.
was that?
Yeah.
Okay, and Randy was in tears, pleading to keep the team here. The gentleman who represented the National Football League said, like, hey, the relocation regulations are what the 32 owners say the relocation. He said that. He told St. Louis that. Once again, he told you what's going on. And it was already too late. If we had taken action earlier, the team might be here. But everybody called Ray a nut. They called me a nut. And because they said, like, hey, this could happen.
In 2012, somebody reminded me of this. Sent me this. I wrote in 2012, if you're worried about having the NFL here, don't worry about the Rams leaving, worry about them staying. My view was, and it was in print, I put it in 2000, I think it was 2012, well ahead of this
I'll
thing.
check my birdcage.
Check it out. Really, please do. But it was so the fix was in on this thing so far back, and you know, I'm not going to be out there.
Georgia had to have lived.
If
To
Georgia,
have-
I said before,
Well,
if
that's all
Georgia
fine
lives,
and dandy.
if Georgia lives to 85,
But if
we're
it's
not
the
having
butts,
this
the candy,
conversation.
and that
She
doll,
died at
have a
80.
Merry
But like I said,
But
when Shad
it's-
Khan and he were both going for the
it's-
team, I said, like, whoever ends up with this team, it's either going to be a new stadium or this team is leaving. And I said that in 2010. And everybody said, like, oh, you're just blah, blah, blah. I said, like, well,
It was-
I hate to be prophetic, but you can, but no steps were taken early.
But go Patriots.
Go
Well,
Patriots!
I got to tell you, I did a lot of just based on how
Gotta
what
go.
a fraudulent result there was in the NFC Championship game.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Hey,
It was
yes,
just amazing.
NFL, NCAA, some real pillars of righteousness. Hey, let's go to the mailbag. Speaking of pillars of righteousness, Ron Cobb wrote, as a longtime viewer, I was shocked to see an invited guest show up and wear his Make America Great Again hat for a portion of the show. My wife and I kept waiting for Charlie Brennan to put his on also. I guess next week you'll invite Rex Singfield. Thanks, Rob, for calling or writing. Eldon Nolte of St. Louis wrote, the Make America Great Again hat has no place on your show. Don't do that again or I will stop watching. Looks like you may have made the point of that guy in Troy. Donnybrook, care of KETC, 3655 Olive Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63108. Don't forget those emails, letters@ketc.org, and those tweets, hashtag DonnybrookSTL, because Alvin and I will read those on your turn, which is just a few moments away, right? Hey, thanks a lot to Joe for sitting in for Bill, who's going to be back next week. Really appreciate it. Everybody, stay warm, but don't touch that dial. Your turn is next.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Alvin and Charlie in our matching suits. But they were telling me my tie was not right, but my tie was not right the way they were telling me. All right, now we're good.
Looking good to me. Looking good to me. I can live with it.
Joyce, St. Louis. How you doing, Joyce?
Oh, no, it's Izzy in St. Charles.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Izzy.
in St. Charles. Here I am.
I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Hi. Is this Alvin and
Charlie.
Charlie?
Yes, it
Yep.
is.
Okay. Oh, well, Charlie, you were kind of quiet tonight, but Alvin, you weren't. But anyway, here's my thing about the St. Louis County thing. So I've been kind of following this, for like many years, like. And St. Louis County is a county, and St. Louis City is a county. Is that correct? I think
Correct.
that's correct.
That is correct.
Okay. And so now they want to make St. Louis City and St. Louis County one county. So is it going to be called St. Louis City County? And if that's the case, why is it called St. Louis City County? And why can't St. Louis County still be St. Louis County and St. Louis City be a municipality within St. Louis County?
Yeah, that's an alternative. It's not the plan, but yeah, Izzy, that could happen.
Yes,
I mean, that's not
that could
beyond
happen.
the possibility.
Well,
Absolutely.
it didn't sound. From what I'm reading, it doesn't sound like
Oh.
that's part of the plan.
Right. No, it's not part of the plan, but there is another plan that might be in the works when the St. Louis County Municipal League, with, all the mayors there, are going to start what they call a board of freeholders, and they will imagine something, and then I think they're going to put that in front of some sort of a vote, right?
Absolutely. And, if Rex and the powers that be in August or whenever decide like, hey, this was all about making you take strides to figure this out, we're not really going to go through with this, I'd be fine with it. Joke's on us. Because they have sparked different, situations where this could happen. So
conversations.
Right, different conversations. So maybe you created the situation you wanted without actually going to the measures that you want to.
It's possible.
Thanks, Izzy.
Hey, let's go to Joyce. Joyce, now it's your turn. Hi there.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. I also want to speak about the city-county merger. And my point is that I don't think that we are talking about the elephant in the room. We cannot look for future economic growth and stimulation and health until we address what is not being talked about, the education of our youth in both the city and the county. And they have not chosen to even discuss this. And if this merger goes through and we merge, but the school systems are still separate, I think that is the beginning of the end of this merger, because it will not be united. It will still have that area of separateness, and that's causing a lot of issues within the system right now. Thank you for taking my call.
It's an interesting point, because we're going to have one city, but I don't know how many school districts. I don't know if I agree with what you think will be the best answer for that, but I do agree education is pretty much the big issue, and education is the big equalizer, and our emphasis should be on that.
And I think that if you put education into the quotient, it would not pass, so thus they left it out, which means ulterior motives. Let's go to Dorothy in St. Louis County. Hi, Dorothy.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you so much.
Okay, I'm calling in regards to the police Russian roulette shooting here in the city of St. Louis.
Okay.
And I was just curious as to why the policewoman would go to this house, say at 1 o'clock at night. I understand she's supposed to be only married 3 months. And why would she leave her bed late at night and go to a house in the city with 2 police officers there?
I understand, but
like it's more to the story.
that
we agree on.
I think we all have questions, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dorothy.
But believe me, you're not the only one raising that question. Ken is in Afton. Hi, Ken. What do you say?
Hi, guys. How are you? I want to talk about the Mizzou sanctions. I kind of want to relate it to what you were saying about the city-county merger, and you were talking about the elites. If this was Duke or North Carolina or another blue blood school, Kansas, they would have got a slap on the wrist. They would have maybe paid a fine for whatever happened here. It wasn't like Mizzou was running a ring of tutors, that this has been going on for years, and there's been an investigation. They saw that this was happening. This is one person who kind of turned herself in, and they're going to get some penalty for this. But for that type of offense, to have 3 programs that you can't go into postseason, that you're going to lose recruiting during a period of time, that you're going to pay a fine, this is ridiculous.
Okay, Ken, I didn't get a chance to go into it on the show, but we've got a situation in Kansas, all right? Where we have a kid, Silvio D'Souza, who's not playing. And he's involved, there's families involved in this Adidas thing and all that. He hasn't played this year. NCAA has made no judgment, ruling, anything, and he's probably not going to play this year. We feel the same way about the NCAA. And there's been no adjudication like at Missouri where this actually happened. So I agree with you. The NCAA is just, it's out of control.
There's no system of right or wrong for them. There's no steadfast rule that says if you violate this is your penalty. It's we make it up as we go.
I agree. Now that I agree with 100%. Thank you.
Thanks really very much. Let's get a few of these tweets on, if you don't mind. Bettering our regional growth requires unity. I'm voting for Proposition BORG. Let the assimilation of the unique identities of St. Louis City County begin. We'll be better together.
Okay. Dan Han Elu. Maybe the state should have kept control of the STL City Police for another 100 years. It's really gone downhill since the city regained control.
Interesting. Not quite sure who or how many people to blame, direct blame towards for what is going on in the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, but that agency is clearly out of control. It's starting to look scandal-plagued.
And Sheba 430, methinks the chief doeth protest too much. I agree with you. Hashtag Donnybrook STL. Send us a tweet.
Thank you so much. On to Mike and Lime. Hi, Mike.
Hi. I watched our city prosecutor, the other night, saying what she thought about the woman being killed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I listened to the city safety director, and then I listened to the mayor today. And they remind me of the Three Stooges, all incompetent.
Okay.
Everybody pointing their fingers at someone else.
Okay.
They need to clean house.
All right.
Get rid of all of them.
All right. Everybody takes a side, but if somebody comes on and said all three sides are out of control, then you kind of got to listen to that, don't you, Charlie?
Well, I respect all three, the police chief, the director of public safety, and the mayor. It's not an easy job. Maybe we should just wait for the facts to come out, and then, it's only been a week. It's only been a week so far.
That is true. Dave in Defiance. Hi, Dave. You there, Dave?
Alvin?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, yes, I am. Alvin and Charlie, thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
I got two questions, and the first one would be, was there a lie detector test given to the two officers involved on the shooting?
I don't think so, no.
Not yet. I don't think so.
Do you think that there might be?
Typically not.
Typically not. I mean, if either of us were charged with a crime, I don't think we'd have to take a lie detector test unless we were trying to verify where we were at the time, and everybody knows where they were at the time. So,
what about blood test results? Did they have any possibly alcohol going on? Or?
That's the big question. We don't have the evidence for that yet. The chief was pretty clear today that he would not discuss the evidence in this case as the investigation is ongoing. So we're not exactly sure what they have at this point. But that's key.
Okay.
I think people want to know. And not only alcohol, but...
I want to know. I just can't believe a young, beautiful woman like that involved on a random suicide shooting deal. It's hard to swallow.
It is, and just the thought that this sort of game would take place is really beyond credulity. It is.
Exactly. All right.
Oh, thanks a lot for the call. We'll go on to Louise in North St. Louis. Hi, Louise. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
The reason I'm calling, they should merge. I'm 78 years old. St. Louis has always been a racist town. I can remember when we couldn't cross Grand.
Okay. All right. Now let me ask you this, Louise. Racism will disappear if Better Together prevails in their effort right now. There'll be no more racism. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Well then,
it would help.
Then you vote yes. I'll vote no. But thank you so much.
Thanks for the call. Let's move on. Who's next?
Jim in Webster Groves. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hi. I have a comment. I was initially against the Better Together proposal because of the way it's being put to the statewide vote. But I used to live in southeast Virginia, basically Newport News.
Yeah.
And a very interesting thing happened in that area back in, I think, the 60s or so, 50s, which was that all the cities merged with all the counties. They basically annexed all the counties they were in. So, like, for example, the city of Virginia Beach annexed Elizabeth County. So right now you have an urban area with about 1.8 million people that has 7 or 8 cities that all butt up next to each other, and it works pretty well. I mean, I think, having lived there and seen what goes on there, the actual functioning of things seems to be pretty good. So I think that actually right now I am sort of in favor of the proposal.
Okay.
Thanks.
The key word there was Virginia Beach. You have a beach and all those towns right along there. I lived in Northern Virginia, but there's something that the other counties want a part of that they weren't able to get. St. Louis County doesn't want a part of what they are able to get. There's a difference. But thanks.
And I know a lot of people are bringing up some really wonderful examples. Louisville and Nashville, Indianapolis are used as the examples of better together, by better together. But there's also Minneapolis, St. Paul, 2 different police departments in 16 different counties, 218, I think, different municipalities up there. They're doing well. Then there's Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, 3 different police departments. They're growing like crazy. I honestly think that you could find an example in the United States, or 2 of them, 3 of them, to fit whatever argument you're looking for. You could say bifurcate is better or together is better, and you could find the examples. I mean, look at Dallas-Fort Worth. 2 cities competing against each other, and their increase in population is probably 12% a year, one of the fastest growing cities in the United States.
Absolutely. Go Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about you and those Cowboys, yeah.
Diana in St. Louis County. Hi, Diana.
Yes, I just want to state my opinion on 2 issues here.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. One is I believe that Police Chief Hayden should resign, and I disagree with Wendy's comments about he's only been there a year. In such an important position, you have 6 months max to get on board. He is ultimately responsible for what happened. He sets the tone. It's no different than a CEO who resigns from a big corporation because of what his underlings may be doing that are wrong. The second thing I'll say, this will be it, I have decided I am no longer going to patronize any St. Louis City businesses because of this, because money talks. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, Diana, you laid it down, and I cannot add any more. Can you?
Well, I would just say, with regard to Hayden, one of the things that Hayden said today was that the laptops that his officers use that are outfitted with GPS, and that's important because in this case we're trying to figure out why did we not know where these patrol officers were. They were at an apartment when they should have been patrolling some other jurisdiction. Those laptops are about 10 years old. They all don't have GPS, and that's kind of the situation he's working with, and that's one of the situations he inherited. So I might cut him a little more slack than you have. But thanks for the call.
Okay. Sarah in the city. Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I just wanted to talk just briefly about the city-county merger, and I don't know all the details of it, but I'm just sort of wondering if it's a strategy of the Better Together to sort of start with this extreme plan and then over time water it down, sort of negotiate with voters to something that's palatable, that people will vote for, that maybe at the beginning people wouldn't have voted for it, but they'll view it okay after some sort of extreme, and maybe in the end it's just the city entering St. Louis County as another municipality. So.
Okay. And the reason he's saying that is between shows we had a discussion, and I said, you know what? If 6 months from now they said, hey, surprise, we did all this to make the municipalities and the county and the city start working together to do this, then I would say the joke's on me and I appreciate it. So we really had that discussion, and you're right. That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
It's funny because if you pick up the president's memoir, The Art of the Deal from the early 1980s, he says that is exactly his method of operating. You go in with an outrageous offer, and then when you dial it back a notch, you appear as reasonable, but when you dial it back, that's what you were looking for in the first place. So it could be a negotiating tactic.
It could be. It could be. I hope it is. That's all I'm saying. I hope it is.
Ed, you're in Jefferson County. Thanks for calling.
Yes, I agree with Alvin. I'm firmly opposed to the merger of St. Louis City and St. Louis County because I feel if they merge, the influx into Jefferson County will overwhelm us. We're happy the way we are now, and we don't need all the people from St. Louis County moving in.
All right.
You're going to have to build a wall.
Build a wall.
Make St. Charles
Build
pay
a
for
wall.
it. Yeah.
Well, that's Jeff County. St. Charles, same, you know, they're looking at it too. But like, first of all, Jefferson County and St. Charles County should invite anybody who wants to move there, just like any community anywhere should invite anybody that wants to move there.
Yeah.
Hey, it could be your windfall. We got some tweets, Charlie.
Is there a reason that this Russian roulette story is being believed? My unseasoned 12-year-old is a better liar.
All right. Congratulations, Alvin, on your award. Yay.
Very nice.
Just a little award from the Kirkwood DePere Chamber Advocate, Community Advocate.
Yeah, he's getting that award tomorrow night at dinner, the Community Advocate of the Year. Joe Holleman made so much sense on Better Together. Then he quoted the Serenity Prayer in response to the boo-hooing over the Rams. I think it's a first, but I'm with Joe.
All right. Hashtag Donnybrook STL.
All right, let's go to Kelvin in North St. Louis. Hi, Kelvin.
Yes, I'd like to speak. You guys talked about the fact that about the police, about the alcohol test. I understand today it came out in the news that alcohol was, in fact, involved. It came out that the officer had partaken in alcohol.
We're kind of at, I didn't know that, but we come into the studio and are not out. So if that broke maybe after 4 o'clock, we may not know that. So I can't, Calvin, I believe you, but I have not read that with my own eyes.
You know, I'd be interested in seeing also there's a marijuana trace in the system of Nathaniel Hendren. Just curious. You know,
all right.
Thanks a lot for the phone call.
Thank you. Mark in the county. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, good evening. I'd just like to comment on the news cycle as it relates to the incident in South St. Louis, the shooting. I mean, what is it that makes the news think they can determine when information comes out on a matter as terrible as this? And then all the rumors and conjecture, you know what? Have some patience. Let them do their job, figure it out, and then go from there.
All right. I hear you, Mark, but no comment is an answer that the chief could have given, that the prosecutor could have given. Like, no comment at this time. And we would not be having all this speculation because there would be no comment.
Point's a good one, and you could apply that to a lot of stories out there, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, our next call comes from, I think is it Clifford in Sunset Hills? Hi, Clifford.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's great to see another controversy tonight. I'm referring to Joe Holleman's column today. He happened to be a guest, coincidentally, tonight, but he was mentioning the question of the worst places to retire. It comes from a column, and St. Louis happens to come in as the #1 worst place, and Better Together in some of their seminars that I attended back in the summer kept referring to Indianapolis and Louisville as being great examples of this kind of compromise. And interestingly enough, in that column, they come in at number 32 and number 34 as worst places to retire. Interestingly enough, though, in the column it mentions the ideal compromise might be to move to a home just outside of St. Louis, which apparently is talking about the various municipalities. So, again, the discussion will continue.
All right. Thank you. You know, one of the things you say, like, a study comes out and it'll say, like, St. Louis has the best nightlife in America.
It did.
And I'll think to myself, I don't think we're the best, but I don't think we're the worst. And the same with this. I don't think we're the best. I don't think we're the worst. You know, you could take what you want to from those studies.
Well, you know, I mean, look, if you're a retiree in St. Louis, you have great access to health care, and you also have rather inexpensive housing and wonderful restaurants. Now, you don't have the beach or the ocean, but I'm not sure what you're looking. You also have an older population, so a lot of people your age. I don't know what the criteria was, but you know, I don't believe any of these rankings. And with all due respect to Joe and his column, I don't think they're worth it.
Absolutely. And the best place to live in America after you retired is
Kirkwood.
the Gatesworth.
Oh,
right?
The Gatesworth. The Gatesworth. That's right.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going there if I can get there.
Our proud sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely. Sandra in Melville, how you doing?
Hi. This is Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi. Hi. I have a comment about the merger. First of all, I'm against it. And I would like to hear pros and cons, especially what are the pros for the county? What good would this benefit us? And since I live in the county, and how much is this about money, which makes me think it's all about money since we have a larger and richer tax base. Is the city just looking for more increased tax funds?
Well, there's that, and then Rex Singfield, the backer, really would like to eliminate the earnings tax. And I think that the proponents would suggest that county residents would benefit because the police departments would be consolidated, so there'd be fewer police chiefs and secretaries for the police chiefs, and the courts would be consolidated, so there would be less redundancy, and so there would be cost savings with the economies of scale. And I think that's probably the biggest measure that they're pushing. I mean, whether that really happens, I don't know. But that's, I think, what they would suggest that the county residents would benefit from, yeah. Thanks for your call. Who's next?
Edward, Normandy. Hi, Edward.
I just have one comment about the police department in St. Louis and this incident with the Russian roulette. Let's let and see where the investigation goes. Right now, we have 3 police officers who are involved and not the total police department of St. Louis. So let's see where it goes, and then let's make comments and let's make decisions on that. But right now, let's just see where the investigation will take us.
All right,
thank you very much. I am a long-time listener.
All right, thank you so much.
I would feel more comfortable if the investigation was from the outside. I think that when you're inside the city of St. Louis, you have a lot of conflicts, and I'd feel more comfortable if we had an outside investigator looking at it.
I would too.
Okay, it's Sue's turn. Sue in Maryland Heights.
Yes, hi. I'm making a comment about the police shooting, and
sure.
I'm not 100% sure that Russian roulette was involved.
Right.
How do we not know that there was an affair going on? That's a possibility. What was she doing there at 1 a.m. and married? So that's a big question I have, and I think a blood test should be done. There may be drugs, alcohol, and they need to look into that.
Okay.
And how does Backstoppers play into this?
Well, Backstoppers is there to support the family of somebody who's killed, and they should do their due diligence and support this woman's family regardless of how it plays out. And I have done the boxing matches on radio on Thanksgiving Eve, and it's all there to support fallen officers. She's a fallen officer regardless of the circumstances, but there are circumstances. So I do agree with you on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Bonnie, you're in Collinsville.
Yes, I am.
Thanks for
calling. And I watch you faithfully.
Thank you.
I watch you faithfully. I just have a comment to make for you.
Sure.
I wish that you would occasionally try to promote the city. I know that you are aware of all the problems the city has, but I know how wonderful our city is, even though I don't live on that side of the river. But it seems to me if you would take some time every now and then to say something good about the city.
Okay.
It might be helpful.
All right. And I appreciate that you're in Collinsville saying that. And we do that, but we discuss news of interest, local news, and unfortunately, it's usually some debatable topic. So that's what we do. But thank you, Bonnie.
And I just mentioned we got great health care, great restaurants, inexpensive housing. Who's next? One final call?
Donna, Crestwood. Hi, Donna.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, I heard 2 different comments about the Mizzou tutor. One was that the tutor helped the students, and another was that the tutor did the students' work. So I think there would be a difference, and I wondered if we could find out.
Donna, she did the students' work. That's why they're in trouble. She did the test. She did like a lot of stuff. It wasn't about helping them. It was about doing their work, and that's why they're in trouble.
Okay? If we had a tutor helping me when I was in college, it was a pretty dumb tutor. Doing my work.
So
that's it.
That's it.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next
Absolutely.
week. Thank you. Stay warm.
Stay warm.
Thanks for joining us.